So I've got some of that Dogbane that we were looking at earlier, and what I've done, like I said, I've smashed that stem. And typically when you smash it one way and it kind of breaks into four. I'll kind of rotate it a half turn and smash it again and end up with these nice sections like this. Each of these sections, then I can harvest the pith out of it, and by doing that get the actual cordage, or the actual fibers off from it. So we're just going to go ahead and break that up, get those fibers exposed. What I do is I break an inch or two of that, start peeling it one way, and then peel it the other way, and that way I don't lose any fibers. Peel it from one end and then the other end, and just get rid of that pith. Again, these are last year's fibers, and I harvested some the early part of May. Even then it wasn't the best time. Sometime in April, probably March or April, is a really good time to do it. By that time the plant has lived its life, and you can go ahead and get it without disrupting the life process, but at the same time the outside of this hasn't oxidized quite so much, and you haven't lost some of the resiliency of that fiber. So I'll just go ahead and pull this apart, get as many fibers out of this as I can. Now this one I didn't scrape the outside paper bark off, so as we work with it you're going to see some of that falling away, and that's okay. It just isn't as clean as if you do it. If you take and just scrape this just very lightly with a knife, you get rid of some of that paper bark off the outside and get a little cleaner fibers. But go ahead and just process this. I'll show you another way we can get rid of some of that paper before we start making the cordage out of it. But now you see that I've got this nice strand of fibers. Just a little bit more of this pith to take off, and go ahead and get this. Get every last bit of these fibers. They are just so beautiful and so useful. Don't want to destroy any of those, but what I can do now is just simply rub this between my fingers, and you can see there's kind of some snow falling off. That's that outside paper bark that I was talking about. Gives it a little softer feel, but you really don't need to do that, because as you take this, and when it's this oxidized, when it's been out in the weather this much, I'll just go ahead and fold it over on itself so that I've got double the number of fibers, and then I'll just go ahead and pick a point that's not quite halfway in the middle, and I'll take and go ahead and twist that until it folds over on itself. See how now I've created that little eye, and what I'll do is just continue to wrap that, twist the top one, and then lay it over the top of the bottom one, and switch places. Now the bottom one becomes a top one, and I twist that. Bottom one becomes a top one, so I twist the top one again, twisting away from myself and then pulling it toward myself as I replace the bottom with the top. And we'll just continue to do that. And what that does is creates this beautiful reverse twist fiber that I can use for all types of things. Now you can see that if I had gathered, let's say 5 or 6 plants, and instead of just using these individual strands, this is 1/4 of a plant doubled over, I could take 4 or 5 full plants, laying them together and twisting them the way I'm doing, and that would create a much thicker strand of this that would obviously be much stronger, could be used more like rope. The piece I'm using right now, this strand, the size I'm making right now, would make great fishing line. It could be used for sewing. It could be used, actually it's strong enough you could use it for a shoestring. Just very, very, very strong, very resilient fiber, even at this point when it's been out in the weather like this. We just keep rolling these, and this is a great thing to do when you're sitting around a campfire, trying not to think. Just get this going and you can make cordage, and we'll show you here when we get down to the end of this. What will happen. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this little process on the video, and we'll get to the end, and then I'll show you how to splice in a new piece so that you can continue to make this and it can turn out as long as you need it or want it. Now you can see that I've gotten to the point where I've got a much shorter end on this end than on this end, and I've done that on purpose. I'm going to splice in a piece here, but I don't want the splice on both of these tails to be in the same place. So by making one shorter than the other, I've created a place where I can splice some of this in. And what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and take and do the same thing I did before. I've got a piece of this that I've pulled off already. I am going to go ahead and use it. Now this time I don't have to worry about this. I'm going to go ahead and double over just like I did before and take that and splice that in. We'll just twist it a couple times, and then we'll just keep going with the reverse twist. And now the tail that was short has about 2 feet of cordage or fiber that I can weave into this cordage, and I can just continue to go, and I can do that on both sides, and I can keep this going essentially indefinitely just by securing more of the cord or more of the fibers from the plant. Yeah, just keep going here, and pretty soon I could have 10 feet, 100 feet, 1,000 feet, just depending on how much I want to weave into this. And I have this nice, beautiful cordage, very strong, very useful, and something that's purely out of nature. I didn't have anything but my hands and my knowledge, and I've got cord that I can use to hang tents, catch fish, tie shoes, sew, all of those things. So if you've got knowledge, you're prepared. If you're prepared, remember, as we say here at Sage to Sawtooth Bushcraft, if you're prepared, you're never really lost. If you like this video, give it the thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do, and watch for more videos come soon.